I'm very pleased to be here on My Magical Thing with Rebecca Beattie, writer, witch, nature mystic, and teacher. Rebecca, it's lovely to have you here.
It's lovely to be here. I'm such a huge fangirl of my magical thing. It was like, oh yeah, get to do it.
Well, it's a delight to have you here. So, Rebecca, please may we see your magical thing?
I don't know if this is allowed, but I have a collection of magical things that are all connected. It's all the same thing, but in volumes.
I think that's allowed. Definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
good.
Pray tell us the story of the magical thing.
So the story of the magical thing, I almost brought my spaniel because she is also, but then thought she's not a thing, she's a sentient being. So this is the thing version. So when I was a few years ago, went back to university to do a PhD in creative writing, and I was writing a fictional diary of a real woman, which was quite tough. And the real woman whose diary I was writing is on the wall behind me, Mary Webb, who was a nature mystic writer. She was a nature writer. She would go and compose by sitting in nature for hours on end. She would sort of sit in a meadow for so long meditating that birds would land on her allegedly, and she would be there at the beginning of the day, and when the chaps came back from working in the fields at the end of the day, she was still there and she hadn't moved. And she'd meditate for ages and then compose novels on the basis of that kind of those states of altered consciousness, I think. And she'd compose these novels that she would write then so quickly that she had to have a special pen made to make the ink run faster than normal. And her first novel she wrote in 3 weeks, which is just phenomenal for anybody that's ever written anything. You're kind of like, oh my God, how did she do that? So I was writing these fictional diaries. So I was basically, her life was more tumultuous than her fiction. So I was writing her diaries about her life with her husband, who was a bit of an arse and who sort of ran off with a 19-year-old student and left her dying on her own at the age of 49. And it's like this story that is really, really gripping and quite sad. And I was really struggling to get the nature descriptions right in the diary because I was living in London at the time. You know, she wrote from rural Shropshire, and then my supervisor said to me, I know what you need to do. You need to go out every day in nature and write down what you see. So throughout the course of, this started with a 12-month period while I was writing the novel. What I would do is go out every day in the woods around London, and I would write down exactly what I'd seen that day in the woods in nature. And sometimes I'd sort of flatten in leaves and plants and all sorts of things. And the sort of descriptions that I was writing in those journals, and they're literally like rained on and splats of all sorts of things in there because I was literally writing them in the woods. And then those descriptions made their way into the nature diary, which sounds kind of, I don't know if that sounds magical to anybody on the outside, but for me, trying to get a character of a novelist who was a real woman, it felt like witchcraft to me in its closest sense, because it was needing to sort of try and bend my own consciousness into her consciousness and really connect in ways that I think you can only really do if you're an energy worker or somebody that does altered states of consciousness or witchcraft or any of those, you know, mediumship, all of those things that some of us have done in our past. And that's how I came to write the diary.
That's fantastic. Could we have another little glance at a few more of the
Yeah,
pictures? Because they're really evocative. I
yeah,
understand this thing about
yeah,
being, you know, like
So
on plein air writing and art, and those are
exactly.
amazing.
So you can see there, I've got like bits of leaf stuck in it, and you can see the it's. I've obviously got rained on that day, so there's the inks run on some of the pages, and then and basically you'd think as well the thing that the reason I think this is a magical object rather than just a writer's object is that for me, as a modern practicing pagan witch, it's the connection to nature that does it for me. It's the time spent in nature, either that if I've got a problem, my favourite form of divination is to go out and walk it out. So I'll take the problem out and go out with my spaniel and take it to the fields and the woods and everything else, and then just see what comes back. So yeah, you get these sort of slightly weird descriptions, and it's so I've even got my little post-it notes still in there telling me get this one, and I've underlined bits to say yes, I'm going to put that into the novel. And there's descriptions of this one says the indignant call of a pheasant interrupts the otherwise tuneful orchestra of birdsong. I miss the sound of skylarks on the heath to Happy Valley, because I was really missing Dartmoor all the time I was living in London. I'd grew up on Dartmoor, and that was my heart home. So for me, going back out into nature meant I could kind of connect a little bit. And then obviously during lockdown, things all changed completely, because I was walking for longer then. I had this period first thing in the morning where I'd go out at sort of 5 a.m. some days and just walk before work. And then because all the cars had stopped and everything had come to a standstill, I actually heard skylarks in the fields above London, and it was just kind of like, that's magical. So yeah, but it was a really interesting process of getting into the head of somebody that was once living, now not living, and trying to tell her story when there's not much written down about her. There's not many records left, because her husband either burnt or sold them when she died. So it had to be a process of kind of witchcraft that took me in there. It had to be a process of, whether it's collective unconscious or, all of those things that we do in terms of connecting to energy, and whether it's mediumship. I don't know. I studied mediumship at one point, but it didn't quite feel like that. It was more like having to try and connect to this energy that had written these amazing novels.
Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for introducing us to the work of Mary Webb, and also to that practice of connection with the deep magic of the natural world as the primordial form of witchcraft. That's really, really appreciated, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right then. Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.